Welcome to the Flex. I'm clearly not Josh Rodriguez. I am Dustin. He is out of town. He tried to shoot. He's having some technical issues. So I'm going to shoot the Flex this week. Got 4 questions from me. These came straight from the waiver wire show. So here we go. First one comes from Nick Moss. These came straight from the comments in the waiver wire show. So be sure to put those in there if you want yours to maybe have a chance to get answered on the Flex. Nick Moss wants to know, flex spot, Matt Breida, John Brown, Cooper Kupp, or Devin Funchess. You know, looking at the receivers, obviously, John Brown's been amazing so far. Cooper Kupp's been solid. Funchess, he's showing some flashes. There's certainly something there. But Matt Breida's leading the league in rushing. I think you got to stick with him. He's going up against Kansas City, and while Kansas City hasn't been giving up, that much on the ground, they have been giving up a decent amount to receiving backs. So I think Breida will find some space. It could be a high-scoring game. I think you stick with him. You ride him out. He seems to be the real deal. And that 49ers offense could have some solid success against KC. Their defense has looked pretty awful. Next one comes from No Snorb 17. Flex show. I got Kenyan Drake, Gio Bernard, Sammy Watkins. Who you starting? Sammy, obviously every week there's a potential of a big blow-up game, but it's too inconsistent. You got 2 solid options here as running back. I don't see any need to really, put the money on Watkins and hope that he has one of his good games. So I think the running backs are a lot safer here. So you got Kenyan Drake, you got Gio Bernard. Obviously with mixing out, Bernard's in a good spot, but Mark Walton could definitely creep in on some of those touches. There's no guarantee that Gio will be get 20+ touches, but I do think, he probably gets, at least a dozen, maybe 15. But then Kenyan Drake, he found the end zone last week. Could be, a decent, they're at home, going up against Oakland. I think they can put some points on the board there. I think Kenyan Drake is my play here. He should have a solid game, and he always has a chance of breaking a big one. I think Drake is who I would go with here. Last Dictators wants to know, Josh Gordon or Deshaun Jackson with Fitzmagic throwing him the ball. I know everyone's excited about Josh Gordon, and obviously there's reason to be, but I don't think he had enough time to figure out what's going on out there, to learn the playbook, to get enough snaps. Will he have a big play? Will he have a touchdown? Maybe, but I just don't see a need to take a gamble unless you're, really farther down in the rankings. Deshaun Jackson, you gotta believe it to a point. 1 week can be a fluke, but 2 weeks, that's starting to be a trend. And I think, obviously, he can be boom or bust, but I just think he's the safer play. Give Gordon a week. Let's see what he does. It's just too much of a gamble, I feel. I would stay away from Gordon unless you're in a really deep league. I would go with Deshaun here. And our 4th one, Andrew Walker. Flex show, who you starting? Alex Collins, Gio Bernard again, or Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry, he's been frustrating, and he did have that one long run called back, and he is always just one play away from a solid week, but kind of the same thing with Gordon. Like, if you don't need to take the gamble, why do you? You have 2 solid options here. So I'm leaving Henry on my bench until he starts showing me something, or if Lewis gets hurt or something like that. But Alex Collins versus Denver at home, or Gio Bernard at Carolina. I think this really comes down to league settings. If it's any type of PPR league, I would give the slight edge to Gio here. Standard league, I would give the edge to Collins. I think Collins has a better chance of finding the end zone. Gio has a better chance of catching a few more passes. Bernard has more catches than Collins, even in the limited role that Bernard has had this year. So I just think this one comes down to league settings. PPR, Bernard, standard, Collins. And don't forget, if you got questions, make sure to put in there what type of league it is, non-PPR, or how many points, if it is any type of PPR league. Hopefully y'all are 2-0. If you got any more questions, post them in the comments. We've been trying to get to as many as we can. We've been answering a ton. Make sure to subscribe, and hopefully Josh will be back next week for week 4 of the Flex. We'll see you next time.